Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Green of Moto America and many other things fast and furious. I'm currently having a good time on the airwaves, but when I'm in town, I listen to JL Unlimited, because that's what you're listening to right now. JL Unlimited Radio.
Hey guys and girls, thank you for listening into another JL Unlimited podcast. We have a very exclusive interview done from a very exclusive person who has been in the paddock and has been out of the paddock for the past couple of years. Antoine Richardson. How you doing, brother?
Antoine Richards? Yep, I am.
Antoine, yeah, I keep on saying, I'm always adding stuff on there. You know what I'm saying? Just,
it kind of leaves something at the end. You want to just add something there, but nah, just Richardson is fine.
The Americans in us, you always want to add stuff, take things away, stuff like that. So, Anton, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing really good, Jordan. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for even thinking of me. Like I said, I've been out of the paddock for a while. Definitely have kind of faded off into the background, but I'm still involved in it. I still love racing, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Good, I'm glad. The last time I believe I saw you actually face to face, let me know if I'm wrong about this, but I could have sworn you was down in Roebling Roads trying to do something with, I believe they had an endurance race kind of doing some stupidness, long story short. And I believe that you was actually trying to get in with that with like a $50,000 purse. And I believe I saw you and your dad there for like a brief moment. And you was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to do something else, and left.
Was that Roebling?
I believe that was Roebling Roads, because the Weira, they came up with something. They was like, yeah, we've got a $50,000 purse. This is when AMA had pretty much almost completely backed out of racing. And This is before DMG picked it up. Daytona Motorsports Group picked up AMA, and everyone was just shuffling around for rides. You were coming up. Your name was in – Right. Your name was coming up in a lot of interviews and a lot of things like, yeah, this guy from the Caribbean is just like ripping it and hurting people's feelings and yada, yada, yada. And next thing you know, the whole U.S. bottom pulled out of the racing. And it's kind of like, wow, Antoine Richards was here for a minute, and then he bounced.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so from the very days, yeah, it and then all the way through up to now, yeah, it's been quite a journey. I must say, quite a journey. And yeah, I think I'm finally going full circle, getting back involved in motorsports. But I think we're here to start from the beginning. So should we start from the Vera days in the States?
Well, we can actually start from where you actually started. Like I said, some people knew about what you was doing when you came into the AMA paddock, but what started you even before that?
Sure. Well, I guess we got to start in Bermuda then. From a tiny little island in the middle of the sea, Bermuda Triangle. Well, that's where I'm from. I'm Bermudian, born and raised. I have been obviously a lifelong racing fan. Casually, my dad used to race motocross back in his day, so I always grew up with lots of motocross trophies lying around the house to kind of encourage me in that direction.
Right.
But yeah, I actually did not put a single foot on the racetrack until I was 19. Very, very late, as we all know. Yeah. I obviously had been riding before that, riding small scooters and stuff, because in Bermuda, at 16 years old, we all get mopeds rather than cars. And even before that, I may have been dabbling in a little bit of riding here and there when I probably shouldn't have been, but
don't we all do that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no reason for me to try to be evasive about it. I know your audience is probably going to be, I was doing the same thing. So yeah, grew up in Bermuda. Really strong bike culture here in Bermuda, because we have rules here where there's a very strict limit on the number of cars you can have per household, and basically everybody here probably has ridden a bike at some point in their life. So very big bike culture here. And I just, grew up all in it. I used to work in car garages and work on bikes and stuff, but never had the opportunity, never even saw a way forward into racing growing up, like many people do. I think one of the questions I got asked a lot when I was racing was, how do you even start out on this path? Because it seems so like elusive, right?
Right.
How do you get your first step? So for me, it was two or three things that really made me decide that I actually do want to try this racing thing out. The first one would be, I was probably one of the first kids out there who was using video games to try to practice. These sports now. I mean, yeah, I'm talking way back in 2006. So back in the PlayStation 2 era, way back now, for the kids out there who probably never even played the PlayStation 2. There was a game put out by the makers of Gran Turismo called Tourist Trophy.
Right.
It was. I used to play the hell out of Gran Turismo, and then they dropped Tourist Trophy, and that just completely changed my life. I spent basically my freshman year of university playing it. I probably should have been doing work. And yeah, I mean, just absolutely fully engaged. I always loved racing, but this game in particular, for some reason, it was really enough for me that it just really sucked me in. And the second thing that really started me off was hearing the news or just finding out that Michael Jordan had started his own racing team.
Yep.
Once that came out, because I grew up in a household full of Michael Jordan and Chicago Bulls fans, so obviously anything
like
he did. Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly. And so once I heard that he started his own racing team, I was like, oh my God, this is. I mean, if there's ever going to be opportunity for someone like me to try to get into a race paddock, then I want to do it with Michael Jordan. That's
definitely
basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't? So, I mean, yeah, I was in university out in Canada, wasn't really doing very well, frankly. Decided that I wanted to have one of the most devastating conversations you can have with your parents as a young student. Not only do I want to drop out of university, I want to drop out of university and become a professional motorcycle racer, not having raced at all in my past. So that conversation was probably one of the toughest ones I probably had in my life. But, God bless my parents because they didn't completely freak out.
Right.
Didn't disown me, which is nice.
Yeah.
And, I came back to Bermuda. It was over the Christmas break. This must have been 2006. And I went up to we have a small racetrack in here in Bermuda, tucked off one of the corners of our airport because there's so little land out here.
Right.
And at this racetrack, at this time, the club was really, really growing fast. It was the most exciting thing on the island at the time, for me at least. In an island where the biggest bike you're allowed to have on the road is a 150cc. So, I mean, that's the maximum.
Wow.
The maximum, yeah. I mean, the speed limit here is 35 kilometers per hour, 25 miles per hour. I mean, so you can see why once I get to the racetrack and I see, guys on 600s doing actually 100 miles an hour, my mind just completely flipped.
Wow, like, that would.
Yeah, this is where I want to be. Like, up until that point, all I had been riding was, street bikes, hopped up little crotch rockets that were, fun, taught me a lot of things, but also not race bikes or anything close to it.
Yeah.
So I got to get down to the racetrack, introduce myself to the guy who started the club, a guy called David Jones, who was a Bermudian legend. He had been out in the States in like the 90s, I think. He had gone out and done some like CCS and Astro stuff. So I know he had raced in Daytona. So for Bermudians, he was one of the few guys that actually had been outside the island to go racing. Huge deal for me, at least. And I met him. I convinced him to let me put me on the racetrack. And from there, things started really accelerating. So I'm going back to the thing about the video game that I was playing. The first time I got on the racetrack, one of the first things I thought, once I started to get the flow and going around and finding the lines and all that, was like, this is just like the game I was playing. It feels a lot like that, which again, considering that nowadays people are using games to train, this is way back when, way back when. But I absolutely felt it clicked really, really fast. So I came back to Bermuda, started working in the construction industry, and I started just saving up some money. I purchased a 600cc R6, Yamaha R6 from one of the other racers, and just dove straight into training like mad. So I think I bought the bike maybe in January or February 2007. The first race that season was, I believe, in May, and between January to May, I put in so much time, so much practice at a track where it's basically just open access, which is brilliant. I mean, in terms of being able to get a start racing, having a track that it's not big, it's not fancy, but it's just there. And also there's something other, absolutely. I mean, I milked it. I completely milked it. I was skiving off of work just to get up there and pull the bike out anytime I got a chance to. And it really all paid off. I picked up the sport really, really fast, to the point where my first race ever riding 600, I'm actually pulled a second place.
Nice.
Only getting beaten by the guy David Jones, who again was the guy who started the club. So I was really shocked about that. And yeah, that first race day for me was, I mean, all sorts of different emotions. I'm going to side note here, but that was also the first day that the first time in Bermuda that we had a fatal crash on our racetrack.
Oh, wow.
On my first race day, yeah. So the guy who was our former national champion, he won 600s, again, Bermudan guy, but, really, really fast, considering that we were all at the time somewhat new to, racing 600s and stuff. Still got on really, really good. But the first race day, yeah. In morning practice, he had a low side and slid off the track, got pinned between himself and one of the fence uprights and his bike, and he was put in the ambulance, sent down the road, still talking and still being himself. But once we at the track didn't hear anything back from him, or didn't hear anything for a little while, people started getting a little bit worried, and sooner or later the news came back that he had gone to the hospital. They put him on the this is what I heard. They put him on the surgery table, and then once they opened him up, he had bled out.
Wow.
And this is like literally the first day that I ever, took a green flag, took a checkered flag, and got my first podium. So in terms of a baptism by fire, that is basically what happened to me on that day.
Definitely. Holy cow.
And, yeah, that from that day on, it was kind of like, okay, well, if you're gonna be doing this, you gotta understand you're playing for real.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely eye-opening experience.
Yeah. So for the rest of that season, it went pretty well. I was getting better and better results. I had the opportunity, which was one of the biggest things that I ever done in my career, to travel to where you are today, Road Atlanta. The first track that I've ever been to outside of Bermuda. I did Aaron Stevenson's Corner Speed, I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, Corner Speed is still there.
I don't know if he's still there, but Corner Speed, they kind of backed down a little bit. They do a little bit in VIR, and they actually started doing a lot of dirts to start training, which Colin Edwards does a lot of that stuff now. But yeah, he still does Corner Speed. Actually,
no, I must be getting my long ago. I'm getting myself mixed up because Corner Speed, I think, was at VIR.
Yeah.
What did I do at Road Atlanta? I can't. Okay, well, regardless, my first time racing a 125cc was at Road Atlanta. I traveled out with a couple of guys who were racing 125s in Bermuda, all really, really fast. And they were experienced 125 riders. I was a 600. I kind of just jumped on the 125 because I had opportunity. Someone had a bike for me to loan, and I wanted to ride Road Atlanta. So I came out. I was in the company of the young rider from Bermuda that really, really turned like racing in Bermuda upside down. Toriano Wilson. He was our Bermudian superstar. I mean, he definitely had all the attention when we got to Road Atlanta because, young kid from Bermuda, big bright smile. No one had seen or heard of him before. And then on the track, when the race weekend, he was really, really impressing. And I remember that race weekend because I think it was USGPRU, and we was being support racing to the AMA. I moved to the same weekend or the next weekend. So basically, the AMA guys were around the paddock, and the Jordan guys were also around the paddock. And so when basically Toriano was doing so well, he got their attention. One of the Jordan guys came over to us, got introduced, and I mean, from there, it was just like everybody was just completely beaming because, I was, even though it wasn't, nothing to do with me, I was just happy to be with those guys. It was still just so positive for us and so great for Toriano because, he's getting noticed. Like, he was really interested in seeing, finding out who this kid was. And I was just kind of like there, on the side, trying to tag along.
Right.
So that was kind of how we, the fresh year. That's how things are going. I ended up finishing that first year in the championship of Bermuda. I think I came third. After a couple of good results, a couple of bad results, but pretty happy in the end. And I was ready to kind of move on. I never really had intention to stick around in Bermuda for too long to race because I knew that around the little track that we had in Bermuda, it wouldn't prepare me for racing on the bigger tracks out in the States. Right. So I was very, very fortunate that in 2008 I had the opportunity to move to the States to race. To be based in the States and race at the same time. I don't want to get in trouble with your immigration, but I basically so I went to university. I went back to university. I got a green card as a student. Moved to Florida, at the land right outside Daytona, so I started university. I was also racing. So racing rear end CCS stuff on the Southeast. And that was, some of the best times I had, definitely in my racing career. I just had a lot of fun going around and spent a lot of time, obviously down in Miami, Homestead. We raced at Virginia, VIR, or Atlanta. Those were very frequent spots we went to. Jennings was also one of my favorite tracks, definitely.
Yeah, I still love Jennings.
Yeah, it's just a great rider's track.
Yeah,
just so fun to me. When you're on the rails, that's the kind of track that a rider would love.
Yeah.
Then that was kind of how things were going. I was flying back and I lived in America for a year before I had to go back to Bermuda, and then I've kind of just been back and forth between Bermuda and the States for the next few years as I was climbing up through the ranks. So I'm amateur, started doing CCS and mirror expert stuff. Started getting some really solid results. The struggle for me was that at the time the qualifying orders for races at the club level weren't set by qualifying. They were set by where you were in the championship standings.
Yeah.
And because I was kind of picking and choosing races to enter, I never really had, championship points. So always starting from the back. But that nevertheless, my lap times were there, and my the desire was definitely there. So I had pushed myself up through the ranks pretty quickly and started also building out my sort of business side of motorsports as well. had always been responsible for securing my own funding. So, I was absolutely beating the pavement, responsible for proposals all up and down. I mean, up and down Bermuda, up and down the States, anywhere, anyone who could even, I can get to stop and listen to me. I was trying to convince them to support my racing dream.
Trust me, I'm right there with you. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's so abstract. For so many people that aren't in the sport, it's hard for them to even to realize, to understand. It's like, why are you asking me for thousands of dollars to go and do what? You to buy tires so you can go and burn them up on a racetrack and potentially hurt yourself. Especially when you're coming from Bermuda. Because Bermuda isn't. We don't have a motorsports background in this country. In this country, we play soccer and cricket.
Yeah.
Those are our two main things. We're big into sailing and a couple other things, but stuff like motorsports never really. We just haven't really exported much in that regard. So to be able to raise funding here was difficult, but also doable. If you just really, really worked hard at it. And so I was doing a lot of that, and my relationship with the gentleman from Jordan that I had met, with Toriano, had also flourished. And he had basically kind of hopped on as my manager and helped me to make some connections here and there. I should probably also mention that another reason why him and I really bonded is because was it 2000? Yeah, it was 2008. So a year after the racer died in Bermuda at the track on my first race day, roughly or so a year after that, I was out in the States. Toriano, the kid that was showing everybody all of his talent out here, got picked up by Red Bull and was riding in the Red Bull USA Rookies Cup, running at the time. Racing with guys who right now are literally national champions and stuff. But he was there, making a name for himself, really making a name for himself. I remember seeing him several times when he was topping practice sessions, and I think he had qualified a couple of times really, really well. Then, unfortunately, at the VIR round, he got in a bad crash, and at 14 years old, our young Bermudian superstar, got in a really bad crash on the first lap and died. So, I mean, for a racing community in Bermuda that literally is maybe 100 strong at the time, it was devastating to us. I mean,
yeah, that is.
I mean, a 14-year-old kid, he has his whole life ahead of him, so much talent, so much personality. I mean, he died doing absolutely what he loved.
Right.
But still, it's still never okay, is it?
No.
So, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess for me, like the impact that had on me was just like, I just knew that if this is something I want to do, I had to give it my all, because at that point, I had seen two people that were better than me, both of them better than me, who had both lost their lives doing this. And if I was going to be continuing doing it, then, if I was to pick up that mantle and try and carry it further, which I tried to do, I just knew that I had to be prepared to just give it my all.
Right.
And that's kind of the approach I took to it, which I think was really beneficial for my career, because frankly, that's kind of what you need anyway. And, there's nobody who's winning races right now who think of anything besides committing to that next race, that next lap, the next corner. It's all about full commitment, and so going through those two tragedies just made me commit that much harder.
Nice, good.
Yeah. So by the time I had gotten, and this was now probably 2009. I was working with my manager, and he secured me an opportunity of a lifetime, racing with a big big deal team in AMA. I was planning on going there with another team that was, a little bit more grassroots, but an opportunity came along for me to join this really, really good team, and I snatched it up, and man, absolutely just changed my whole life, really, because there's nothing like, there's no substitute for being in the paddock, in the environment, where you've been dreaming to be, amongst people that you've been dreaming to be to be racing with.
Yeah.
And just have that opportunity. So yeah, 2010, I started racing Celtic Racing, and alongside my teammate PJ Jacobson at the time, and that was just absolute dream come true. Struggled obviously, massively financially, in terms of trying to do the whole series.
Right.
At that year, they were, I'm trying to remember what they called it. It was something like a shootout or something like that. Or basically what it was is that if you do a certain number of races in the year, you have a certain number of points, then you'll qualify for the shootout in the final round, and the shootout was the winner take all. So that was the setup for that year.
It's kind of like the Race of Champions.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what it was called at the time, but it was kind of like a subset of the Super Sport class,
right,
for 600s. And so, with a limited budget, I had done, I think, just about half of the rounds, and got into the last round at Barber, and just put it all out there. Made some mistakes. I think it was raining on the second day, and definitely did not get the results I was looking for. But that was still, for me, the end of a year that was just a year of living the dream, 100%.
Right.
Me to be surrounded like this, like I guess I just never really knew beforehand just how a professional sportsman's mindset is just so far removed from anything else. Like just to be surrounded by people who, not just, obviously the racers that were all around me were 100% race legends, frankly, some of them.
Right.
I was also very lucky to be able to bum around in the Michael Jordan entourage that was hanging around in those days, because he would show up at the tracks.
Right. He would.
Yeah. And I got to, hang out in the entourage every once in a while when I was in there and they were around, and got to talk to Michael Jordan a few times. I told him, obviously, I naturally told him that my goal is to race for him, and he was like, "All right, mate. Well, go ahead, put the work in, and you get you there." I think one of the single, I guess, biggest and most sentimentally important thing that happened to me in my entire racing career also happened in that year. Because as I said before, I grew up in a household full of Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan fans. That year in Daytona, I got the opportunity, first time, to introduce my dad to Michael Jordan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For me, my dad is the person I look up to. And my dad, he doesn't look up to many people, but he did look up to Michael Jordan. And I got to be able to make that connection for him. I got to get him to shake Michael Jordan's hand and, look him in the eye and, say, like, this is my son. He's got his dreams and he wants to race for you. So, I think that for me, that was just a really, really great moment. I think that because of all the support that my family had given me to get there, that was probably, a small token of gratitude that I can give back to him. So that was really, really nice. Just really, really great to be able to do that. And yeah, I think that from after my 2010 year racing at AMA, making some changes going towards 2011, I also was getting really, really, the difficulty in raising funding was just completely becoming a whole different ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the recession in the 2008 recession, and then kind of the repercussions of that, marketing budgets getting slashed,
yeah,
and essentially all of my sponsors who were backing me for 2010 just didn't have the capacity to be able to do it for 2011, which unfortunately I was not alone in that. Those were grim times, and oddly, not too far from what we're looking at right now in terms of the future and economies and the bigger picture of what's going on outside the racing world. I can say, as a quote unquote millennial, I've I've been through this once in a lifetime economic crash twice in a decade. I got screwed both times, so I'm a little bit hesitant when it comes to being too optimistic on the economic future right now, because last time it didn't do me any favors. Nevertheless, 2011 I was lined up for a potential ride. I didn't get it, or it didn't pan out, I should say, because of reasons. And that was really my last time racing a 600, I think. Since 2011.
Wow.
So yeah. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't.
I can imagine. It's just like, wow, because we're going into 2020. We're halfway through 2020, going into 2021. Yep. You haven't raced a motorcycle in almost 11 freaking years. I wouldn't know how to hold my sanity for 11 minutes. I literally don't know how to hold my sanity for 11 minutes.
I'll tell you what, Jordan, the way I did it is you just don't. You just go insane, which is kind of what happened. I mean, you just don't turn around from spending, it was only 5 years for me, 5 solid years of believing that, I am going to become, the next Valentino Rossi or something like that, to then saying, well, nope, I gave it a go, and now I'm going to go back to Bermuda and, I don't know, work in the office again.
Yeah. That
definitely not easy.
Yeah, that is detrimental, mostly to a natural racer like yourself. That is definitely detrimental.
Yeah, it was tough times, but the way I had got through it was just being happy with the time that I did get there. I got to do something that, was a lifelong a dream for me. I got to live it, even if it was for a short while, and that is something I will hold. I would definitely hold on to that for the rest of my life, even if I'm going to live in the past, because I don't mind. I had a pretty cool past.
Yeah, I would definitely think so. I mean, if you come to a wedding and talk about, oh yeah, I'm an ex-professional racer that knows Michael Jordan personally, and people would be like, who the heck are you?
Yeah, I do get that. So I learned how to dial that down, because it doesn't always make me any favors. But you know what? I'm at the point now where it's so far long ago that I feel confident in kind of just embracing it now, embracing the fact that that was the past, I guess. Not saying that I wouldn't get back on a bike, in case anyone's listening still.
Hint, nudge, nudge.
Throw that out there. Oh, actually, we'll get to my current situation in a sec. Yeah. After I finished racing, spent a couple of years just twiddling my thumbs and feeling sorry for myself. Then kind of sorted myself out and decided, well, I latched onto, I guess, the sort of business side of me that I've, always I needed from when I was racing. I decided that I wanted to try something entrepreneurial, and I had a whole big plan to try to basically do a Uber-like service, but with motorcycles. That also, basically Uber and Uber Eats, combined into one, using motorcycles. That was before Uber actually was a thing.
Right.
So I had at one point moved to the Dominican Republic, where in that country they have what's called motoconchos, which are just motorcycle taxis. Basically, a couple of guys sitting on the side of the road with a regular bike, nothing special about it, but they would offer people rides. You hop on the back of the bike, and if you're lucky, you'll get to where you got to go without dying. Kind of how it works. And I saw an opportunity to try to maybe refine it a little bit, make it a little bit better, make it into a proper business. And I had secured the distribution rights for a new product that was not on the market anywhere else. It was a taximeter that was built and designed to be used on a motorcycle. So you mount it on the handlebars, and just like the old digital display taximeters was put the rate in, start to stop it, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That was the technology that I was going to be using to be able to take a very informal hustle like the Moto Concho motorcycle taxi thing, and try and make it into an actual proper business. And so I had dove in fully with that. Well, not fully because I didn't. Well, it wasn't my product, but I was working with a company out in Thailand that was developing it, and they had prototypes. Well, no, they had prototypes, but I never got one. Basically, the technology that they were working on took a little too long to get out of prototyping and into manufacture, because by the time they had basically gotten their patents and everything else sorted out, that's was actually when Uber was just starting to blow up. And so by the time that hardware, which was a really nice piece of kit, but by the time they had finished it and got it manufactured, it was obsolete, because by that point, Uber had proved that you can do all that functionality
from your phone
with an app.
Yeah.
And so that was it was again it didn't. I moved quickly on to pursuing that approach to it then, in terms of developing an app to manage a transportation system. And that's when I went back to Bermuda and started doing just that. I had started working with somebody else who had already started working on a transport app here in Bermuda. Again, very Uber-like. And I just was trying to get this product developed, and advising on how it can be used in different ways and so on. But yeah, trying just a whole bunch of different entrepreneurial ventures throughout my mid-20s, trying to, and all of them around motorcycles, logistics. That was basically it. I figured that if I'm a bike guy, I got to figure out a way to make all that money I spent on racing, make some of that back, still using two wheels. That was a long pursuit for me, and I learned so much through those years in terms of running businesses, startups, app development, just tons and tons of things, and it was all very, very interesting. It all kind of ended up with me starting several businesses in Bermuda after doing what my initial business was down in the Dominican Republic. Came back to Bermuda, started doing business here in Bermuda. I had decided to start a riding school, motorcycle training school here in Bermuda, because frankly, and I'll say this on the record and quite publicly, the training in Bermuda is shit when it comes to preparing people to get on the road. Jordan, it's funny, but it's actually tragic, because you've lost so many people.
I'm laughing because you said it so bluntly, and and it's just kind of like, yeah.
There's no other way to putting it. And anybody here that wants to call me out on it, please by all means do, because I can argue till I'm blue in the face. The training here is just insufficient. Literally, it takes 5 minutes. You're riding along in the parking lot on the moped, and then they give you your license, and you're off riding on the road. And up until very recently, Bermuda's had a very bad drink driving culture. And so, I have, definitely lost friends and
Yeah.
family and all sorts of stuff because, we just haven't been prepared. We haven't taken bikes seriously. We love bikes here, but
Right.
because we're so comfortable with them, we just haven't taken them seriously, taken the dangers of them seriously enough. At least at that time, things have improved on the sobriety side, the anti-drinking driving side, but not on the training side here. So that's still a battle that we're still trying to fight.
Gotcha.
So I started a riding school, but one that was meant to be different from what we were doing, which was just basically parking lot training, riding on cones. I didn't want to get involved in training people the bare minimum, so they get out on the road and then hurt themselves. I knew that wasn't enough, so I had partnered up with a local insurance company, and we had developed. I had developed a program, and they was helping to support me to do it. And I went out to the UK. Was basically trying to emulate their training model in Bermuda, which was much more comprehensive. It involved doing obviously the low speed training you would do around the parking lot, then also getting out onto the actual road with an instructor and with radio connected helmets, and basically getting adequate training. This still is missing in Bermuda, and that's what my riding school was all about. I came back and we were offering a 10-hour advanced riding, well, a 10-hour comprehensive riding training program to one of the largest high schools here in Bermuda. So that basically we took 50 kids and we offered 50 kids the opportunity to get 10 hours of training. This was a training that would have been, again, much more involved than what they would do normally before they got out on the road.
Gotcha.
And it was there was some struggles, but at the end of the day, it was a massive success with the students that participated. They were. I still see them to this day, and I still ask them to check to make sure that they are still riding correctly, and they all seem like they all the lessons they drilled into them still stuck in there somehow. So
nice. That's good.
Yeah. Something I'm actually really, really quite proud of because it's one of those things here where it's a gap. It's a huge gap, a knowledge gap, but it's not been addressed properly, and so it seemed like a no-brainer to me. But there were some probably political sort of obstacles that I wasn't prepared for. That didn't allow. So what I was trying to actually do was get them to change the legislation to be able to make the on-road training part of the mandatory training.
Right.
And despite a lot of public support for that initiative, because this ended up turning into a whole thing. I partnered up with the local newspaper and some other organizations, and we were really, really pushing hard on trying to get big change in the training and the just driving culture in Bermuda.
Right.
And my personal part of it, which was the training part of it, that didn't get fully implemented. But again, there's still time for it. So I'm still going to be working on getting it happen because it's something that I feel passionate about. I love training. That's another thing that I've been doing a lot since I stopped racing. It's just training, rider training. I was the riding coach at the racetrack where I started out. We used to have a Saturday morning program run by the club where we had a small fleet of bikes, just like 90cc supermoto looking bikes, small ones for the kids. And we had kids showing up, and because we have such great access to the track, we can make it affordable for these kids to show up on Saturday morning, paying for like a regular sort of Saturday morning activity prices, and getting to ride race bikes around the racetrack. Like if that was around when I was a kid, I would have been absolutely all over it. But it wasn't. But I got to be part of the. I got to coach. Me and so many great kids came along through that program. A lot of whom are still racing now. All of them trying to follow the dream, trying to make it to the top and get to AMA and maybe even further. So if you see Bermudians coming up in the future, don't think that we've completely gotten out of the sport. No, we still love racing here in Bermuda.
That's great.
We're just trying to find our way back in.
Right.
But we're working hard on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. So where are we now? That was basically before my riding school had that up and running. I took a bit of a blow when we didn't get the legislation passed, which again kind of set me on a bit of a spiral. But I decided that I have the chance now. I was like 28, 29 or something like that. Unmarried, no kids, no degree. So I decided that the next thing that I wanted to try and stick my teeth into is getting back to the university, and going back to university with a objective of becoming an engineer for electronics for bikes. So basically for electric vehicles, my goal was to be putting myself top of the pile for working in the future electric vehicle industry, bikes or cars, because that's where I see things going. I grew up all around bikes, petrol, gas bikes all the time. I used to wake up to smell of VP race fuels in the morning. I mean, that was my morning. Listening to bikes. I'll be sleeping at the track and listening to bikes going over the track and smelling it like morning coffee.
Yep.
But at the same time, there's so much potential with electric that I can't ignore it. It sure is not cool because it doesn't have the same sexy sounds as a screaming 600 or 1,000 or something like that. But
yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah, definitely different. But I want to go fast at the end of the day. I don't care what it is on. I want to go fast. I want to go faster as possible. And for me, the whole idea of getting instant torque in my wrist that floats my boat. So that's where I thought I wanted to get myself involved in. And that's actually tied to a project that I had undertaken around the same time as I was doing my riding school. I had met a individual here in Bermuda from the UK, moved here, loved the island, and basically just decided that he wanted to see a bike race happen on our roads, like Isle of Man style,
Right. Wow.
And as we have great, absolutely amazing riding roads here in Bermuda. We have no highways, so all of our roads are basically like 2-lane coastal roads.
Right.
But they're beautiful and a lot of fun. Not that I speed, but if I did, I'm sure it'd be a lot of fun. And so that's kind of been like one of our far-fetched dreams of having a big bike race on our roads here. That's everybody would love to see that, but never really thought that's possible. But all it takes is someone else to come along and not see the obstacles, but see the opportunities.
Right.
And that's what happened. So he had put in a lot of work trying to get things off the ground. I joined his efforts, and together we've been working very, very hard on developing this plan. We have created what's calling the Bermuda Charge, which is a showcase for not only Bermuda and its beauty in terms of potential for tourists, but also a showcase for the future of transport. So particularly electric vehicles, with the strong emphasis on sustainability,
right,
and clean, zero emissions. So the gentleman has started this really, really cool event that's been running now for the past 2 years with a goal of building towards having a full-fledged, I don't like to use the word Isle of Man style, but that's probably the most easy to recognize. But basically,
or like a TT.
Yeah, a real road race on the roads,
right?
But featuring the electric bikes. So that's been my biggest project that I have on my table right now. Or one of them. We have gotten government permission, for this year, would have been this year had it not been for COVID, of having the first, our first bike race in Bermuda on the roads. We have, put in some hours to get to the point where we have, the government, insurers, emergency services, the whole 9 yards to put together a actual world-class race event in Bermuda from scratch. We partnered up with some really, really strong partners who are already big names in the road racing world, and honestly, this COVID thing has really set things back for a lot of reasons. I mean, the horrors of what's of the health impact it's had around the world. I mean, is absolutely just heartbreaking and almost unconscionable. And then on the side of all the actual tragic human loss, all the rest of the knock-on effects just keep on coming, don't they? And so, aside from the hundreds of thousands of people that lost their lives to this terrible disease, we've also, myself and this partner of mine, we our first year of having the race happen also got put on the sidelines because of COVID. So this is one of those knock-on things. So we're 100% working on trying to get ourselves prepared for the first race in 2021, and we have lots of great support for it, not just from locally, internationally. We have some really, really strong supporters for making this happen. Some really cool teams and racers and individuals who want to be involved in this. Unfortunately, because things have become so uncertain right now, I can't fully just spill out everything we're trying to do.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Like I said, we can always follow up.
Oh yeah, that'd be good because as things develop, this is going to be a big event, big ticket event as it grows. We plan on doing this as a really grassroots effort with the potential that it can have the legs to go far. That's kind of how we're building it. Okay. And it's something I'm really, really proud of. My goal is to be able to one day throw my leg back over a race bike, maybe an electric one this time, and maybe race it on the roads in Bermuda. I don't know. I just want to ride again.
Just get back on a bike, please.
Exactly. I mean, George, all I'm saying is I've been making a very, very long circle trying to get back to racing. I spent the last 40 minutes just talking about all this crap I'm doing, trying to get myself back on the racetrack and be able to get racing without spending money that I don't have.
Right. Which a lot of people are doing.
Yeah. I think my life goal is now to try to be able to afford to go racing on my own dime and just do it for fun.
Nice.
Go out and win some stuff, but do it on my own dime. So hence why I'm working so hard. Hence why I'm going to start engineering school. So I've moved up to the UK. I'm at Oxford University, Oxford, UK, and it's a school I'm at. It's renowned for cranking out, frankly, Formula One engineers. Really, really good program, really, really strong engineering degree, and really well connected. I mean, in the UK, the region of the country where I'm based, they call it Motorsports Valley, and they call it that.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and the reason they call it that is basically because almost every Formula One team, besides Ferrari, is based in this region. So you can drive from Mercedes, AMG, F1 to there's their Red Bull. I think it's Red Bull. No, McLaren. Sorry. Down the road from there, there's also Williams nearby. Renault have their factory based in the UK. Basically, a fact I never even considered, but I heard not so long ago, that every Formula One team that's won a Formula One championship besides Ferrari, they've all been based in the UK. So that's the whole, all of them. Even historically, they've all been based in the UK. So you don't think of England, you think of racing naturally, but there's a lot of really, really strong engineering happening over there. And
wow.
I'm lucky to be now stuck right in the middle of it. I'm doing so my degree is a Bachelor of Engineering in motorsports engineering. So it's literally a motorsports engineering degree. My school has Formula One cars sitting in our laboratories. Like, it's just the best. It's so great. I mean, I'm finally surrounded. Like, some of my lecturers were used to. I mean, they've all been in the industry. I have one lecturer who's do the suspension work for like all throughout World Superbike, for all the big names, and it's just a really great place to be if you're if you're a race lover or you're a race fan, because everybody around you actually is on the same wavelength. And so yeah, it's been a lot of work, to be perfectly honest. I'm now 33 years old, and I'm undergrad.
Wow.
In class with 18 and 19-year-olds, and I'm trying to keep up with all the maths and stuff that I have not looked at for, I don't know, 15 years. It's been humbling, I'll put it that way. And a lot of long hours in the library. But I'm now going into my second year, and I'm starting to get the same feeling like I had when I was racing. I think one of the important things about racing and developing your career is like almost like a little bit of like almost like just what feels like just magic happening, almost like things just happening, like like say going back to when I was racing, I was putting in a lot of work, I was super eager and all this, but I feel like the things that I put myself there, but then once everything else around me started going in the same direction, that's when things started to accelerate. So that's when I'm going from starting at Bermuda, putting a lot of work, and then next thing you know, I'm going to Atlanta, and meeting the same people who, the same race team, Jordan team that
right.
I initially set out to meet, frankly, and within a year I'm there. That's
crazy.
Yeah, it's so far. It's almost like magic. Like, it felt to me at the time like some sort of something that was happening, because it takes so much more than just that hard work and determination. It does take. I feel like it takes a little bit of that extra magic when things are clicking, when things are just going right. It's just things just accelerate, and I feel like I'm starting to get there with this engineering side now.
Nice.
I feel like somewhere, not yet, but somewhere soon, I'm going to get to that point where hopefully things start to just connect, because when you're finding your passion and you're just trying to like just be positive and do good for yourself and in the world, then things click, and that's kind of where I am now. So yeah, literally, I'm back home. I'm back in Bermuda today, summer break, and this last few months have been completely up and down all over the place. But I think for me, a good thing is that I'm a student right now, so I don't really have my fingers in too many pies. I'm focusing on doing one thing.
Right.
And it's something that I can do throughout a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's not like I was, a few years ago, I would have probably been completely stuck in a business, some sort of business commitment that would have been probably taking a lot of blows right now, and I'd have been stressed way out and all this.
Right.
But right now, it's like, well, you know what? My exam grades came in. I did well. Summertime. I can't just sit on my ass.
It is Miller time.
Exactly. Just sit back and just see where this all goes. I got no commitment, so I can see where things go right now. And nice. I think this, and compared to the last time when the economy crashed, when I was, my life fell apart because of things outside of my control. I feel like this time, things are going absolutely topsy-turvy around the world. But I feel like at least I'm in a position where I can still steer my future, and that's what I plan on doing. My goal is to get to still be a positive force in motorsports some way somehow. I think that's important, and that's kind of where I am now.
Nice, nice. You've done a lot of things in your years, in your young 30-something years, that people have strived to do in, a lifetime. And to even start at the young age of 19, not even throwing a leg over vehicle before that time, when, the Roger Lee Hayden family and everybody else is starting at 5 years old. And
Hmm.
they've not say they've had a silver spoon in their mouth, nothing like that. I'm not trying to insinuate that at all, but they've had a lot of opportunities given to them, to where you actually, and God actually, presented you with a lot of great opportunities that you've never taken for granted, and that's a good thing to hear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's you're absolutely right. I would love to be able to provide that, future for some kids growing up, maybe even my own kids someday, maybe not. You'll see. but but just to be able to give them that support that young racers do need to be able to maximize their potential. And I always recognize when I was racing that I was an outsider, feeling a bit like the imposter syndrome or whatever it is.
Right.
It was definitely a real thing. And at the time, I would say I didn't recognize how much of an impact it had on me while I was racing, because again, things were going good, things were positive. I was making progress, things were going in the right direction. But once things started getting tough, that's when for me I had no support. It's like I did not have any deep roots planted in the motorsports industry.
Right.
At that time,
Right.
and so when things got tough, I was just washed away real quick because, well,
Yeah.
what else would you be? Like, I just yeah, I definitely it was always I was always cognizant of the fact that it was going to be an uphill battle. I think
Right.
one of the reasons why one of my favorite racers of all time was Troy Bayliss, because
Mm.
he was one of the few guys people don't realize he actually started very late in his life too,
Yep.
racing.
Yep.
I think he was something
He
around
was
the age.
late teens.
Yeah, he was around the same age as me when he started, and look what he's done with himself. So I always look to someone like him as people who gave me inspiration and told me it was possible. Yeah, I'm very happy with what I've done, and I'm still eager to be involved some way somehow. So that's what I'm doing.
Nice. Nice. I love hearing positive stories that, everyone has their triumphs and their highs and their lows, passing of great people in your life, but you're still staying positive and still doing positive things with your life and with the community you're around and the country that you're in. So that is great to hear, and fantastic to see that you're still doing something, no matter what it is. Like I said, you haven't stopped. Every time you do something, it's about the motorcycle community and how
Yep.
you can improve it, not just in the country, but, it's like worldwide, nationwide.
Yeah.
So people are definitely going to recognize you in one way, shape, or form. I'm pretty positive about that. Like I
Well,
said,
I mean, that'll be stupendous. I think that anything that I do, that again, just like I think one of the things I'm passionate about right now is making the sport more accessible, for people that don't come from a racing family. That's something that's always been a struggle, in this industry, because
right.
racing's expensive.
Yep.
It's so niche, like
Yep.
things that we all know. Like we all know these things, right?
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, you know, look at the two small things it took for me to be able to decide that, okay, you know what, I'm gonna actually take this passion that I've had for watching racing and stuff and try it out. It was just two small things that got me started on it, and because of that, now I'm here and I'm talking to you about this and that. The practicing playing that game for a while, but most importantly, I met Michael Jordan starting this racing team. That for me was the game changer, because it just put in my mind that, hey, this is a sport that someone that looks like me can actually be involved with, and not just from the fan side, but actually involved in.
Yes.
And that like if it had not been for that racing team, I absolutely would not have done any of this, like, see, at all. I wouldn't, like I said, it would never have even crossed my mind. So, I just hope that, we're at a point now where we're starting to, and we definitely are, we're starting to see more and more bigger pool of people of different backgrounds getting involved in the sport.
Yeah.
And starting to feel that love that we have for it,
Yeah.
I honestly think that now, my life before racing, like literally, I define my life right now because I'm starting to get old, I'm starting to lose my dates. But I define my life like between like pre-racing and post-racing. That's kind of how I do it. It's about 2007. That was my year, So it's like before that or after that. So and it is. I mean, like I almost feel like it'll be, for someone like me, and I think for a lot of people who are probably big into racing, particularly bike racing, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. I don't have very many other passions in life, to be honest. Gotcha. I'm not really big on much of anything except for racing, and particularly bike racing. And I'm quite sure that there are probably a lot of young kids here in Bermuda and also around the world, definitely out in the States, who probably feel like that, probably feel like, I don't want to grow up and play football or basketball or whatever, or maybe they don't feel like they're academically inclined or something like that. I think that people need to be able to find their niche, and once you find it,
go with it.
Yeah, go with it as far as you can. And I think that it's important for people. I think, now that I'm older and a bit more experienced, to be able to offer that to the next generation, to let them, show them that, yes, you may not come from a background that's strong in this particular sport, but there's a support system here for you if you decide that you want to do this. All you got to do is just work hard and be passionate.
Definitely. I don't want to hold you up too long. I know you probably just got off the plane a couple of days ago. You probably still have jet lag.
Well, the thing is, actually, I landed in Bermuda and they put me in quarantine, so I actually haven't moved from my house since I got here. I tested negative, but they're very, very cautious here, and so I'm hopefully going to get my first bit of freedom tomorrow.
Good Lord. Well, I hope you do. I pray for you every day, brother. We're going to follow up with you a little bit later on, because, like I said, you've still got a lot of positive things going on, and a lot of things that you have done that people need to know about. So we're definitely going to follow up with you later on in the year. Who knows? I may actually take a trip over to Bermuda and just, kick it with you for a week. Who knows?
Man, you are more than welcome. We can sit on the beach and drink some rum swizzle and talk. We can do some what they call it again? Some talking about racing all day.
Oh, I'm down for that. Dude. I'm down for that big time. But definitely, awesome. Mr. Richards, I want to thank you again for taking the time out to visit with us and talk with us. Do me a favor, before I let you go, we got to make sure we get in contact with you. How can my people get to you on your social media networks?
Okay, yeah. The only way that social media that I have right now is my Instagram. It's a nice, easy one. Just A Richards 87. So ARICHARDS 87 @gmail.com. Wait, no.
Boom. There you go. Easy way to make sure you get in contact with Mr. Richards. He's doing big things over in the islands. So make sure you contact him, and feel free to like, share, and subscribe over to JL Unlimited at Spreaker.com. We thank you again, Mr. Richards, and we will definitely see you on the other side of both ponds because you jump back and forth all the time.
Yeah. You had to catch me on one side or the other side. But we'll meet up somehow.
Definitely, we'll do it. All right, Mr. Richardson, we want to let you go, but we definitely want to say thank you one more time.
Thank you, Jordan, and I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to give my bit. It's nice. It's just nice. Thanks.
No problem.